I'm Corbett Wall with USDA Livestock and Grain Market News, here with your weekly feeder and stocker cattle market summary report for the week ending January the 11th, where we had a big movement, especially in the auctions of feeder cattle sales this week. First real good movement we've had going back to 3 weeks ago, and it had been a good test since that last full week of sales in 2012. So going back to that period, back to the last full non-holiday week, your feeder cattle going right into the feedlot sold firm to $5 higher. Steer and heifer calves $3 to $10 higher, and just a real active market this week. Heavy receipts in almost every auction market, and this is always the biggest auction marketing week of the year. The first full week of the new year. You had guys waiting for the new year for tax reasons. You had cattle accumulated for a couple, 3 weeks there because there was hardly any sales. You've got buyers that were very aggressive because their orders had kind of run low on inventory, and they needed to fill some orders there, and they knew the cattle were going to be out there to do it. So despite the fact that the availability of feeder cattle is really tight, and we know our numbers are a lot lower, and we know that a lot of guys have sold cattle ahead of schedule, this week's auction market receipts were only 7% smaller than the same week a year ago, which was pretty impressive, really, because probably expected those to be a little lighter than that. I think they were probably aided because of the wheat pasture so dry, so you had some of the wheat cattle coming in, which normally you don't see this time of year. And also you just have some guys that probably don't normally sell until February or March or closer to spring, and during that holiday break they just decided that they were too short of hay to get through much more of the winter, and thought it was just a good time to sell. But prices were comparable to the same week a year ago also. If you look back in the north central states and northern plains, your popular weights there, 6, 7, and 8 weight steers, were just within $1 or $2 lower than the same week a year ago. While down in the southern plains, the south central states, most of your popular weights there, your 5, 6, and 7 weights there, were slightly higher. But you get down in the southeast, which they had some rain early, and you've got some local demand there on top of your normal western demand. And down the southeast, your popular weights of calves, your 4, 5s, and 6s, sold from $3 to $8 higher. And that's quite a bit there on an average. That's an average for the whole region. But we did see some pressure late in the week as the board kind of turned sour there, especially from the midpoint on late in the week. And then on Friday we had the grain report, which caused the corn to go up quite a bit and your cattle board go down even more. But your fat cattle market this week's $2 to $3 lower at 126 live, and we even had some 128 this week, let alone last week. But we had a few sales of 128 early this week, but then lost $2 there on a live basis, mostly at 126. And we had some 205 early in the week, but then the bulkier sales were $2 to $3 lower, from 202 to 203 in the beef. One of your big sales this week in Russell, Iowa, had a load of 964 pound steers sell at 141.60. You think about how big those cattle are, and trying to back those up into around a $1.30 market could be kind of tough to do. We finished up a lot of deliveries this week. If you didn't notice, December CME live cattle contract for December was a big delivery month. On a live basis, had 334 contracts that were delivered, or roughly around 10,000 head, which is the biggest delivery month we've had in a long time. They're expecting February to be a pretty good delivery month because the board is at a premium to cash, and the next traded month is quite a few dollars higher also. But had some moisture fall across the country this week. On the eastern half of the country, we saw unseasonably warm weather and some rain. On the western half, late in the week, you saw a cold front come in, and some pretty significant amounts of snow, especially up in the northwestern states. Your regional weighted averages this week in the north central states, a 700 to 800 pound steer cost you $151 1/4. compared to 151.54 last week and 153.51 a year ago. In the South Central states, a 600 to 700 pound steer cost you 157.15 compared to 155.81 last week and 154.48 a year ago. Down in the Southeast, a 500 to 600 pound steer cost you 155.69 compared to 148.30 last week and 151.52 a year ago. That wraps up your market summary for this week. Check out our website for more market information at marketnews.usda.gov. And from the Regional Market News Office in St. Joe, Missouri, we'll talk to you next week.